All right, we'll call the meeting to order. I'll mention who's in the room. We've got Karen Inslee, Diane Duma, Gus Swede, Hot Berry, Robin, and myself. And then we've got Stacy as executive assistant. Then we got the superintendent, Kathy, and Jody, secretary treasurer, and assistant superintendent, Bart Spielberg. We have Paul Magnan and Diane Rowland on speakerphone. We will now stand for O Canada, and it's being sung by Ikul Dougal. Treaty acknowledgement will be said by Robin Harris.
We acknowledge the traditional land upon which Sunrise School Division resides as Treaty 1 territory. We honor our partnership with Canada's original peoples and respect the gifts of Indigenous history, culture, and language. We commit to moving forward in partnership with our communities in a spirit of collaboration and reconciliation.
Thank you. Took me a little while. My computer went to in camera, so I had to put it back to regular. So we're going on to adoption of the agenda. And it's doing the same thing again, so just wait a minute until I get this under control. Okay. I just go. Okay. So the adoption agenda, the motion will be resolved that the board approve the agenda. Do we have a mover and a seconder? Diane moves. Is there a seconder? Not seconded. If there's no discussion, we'll vote. Okay, we'll vote then. So 8 in favor, and because Trustee Jarrett is absent, so it's carried. Chair's comments. It says we're supposed to send all questions to Jody Thiessen at sunrise.ca. Name and address of sender must be included in the email. The meeting is being videotaped. So if you ever want to watch, you can go back on YouTube and you can watch it either live or you can watch it anytime you feel like it. Okay, next. share a story. Is there anybody that would like to share a story? Yes, Karen.
Myself, Trustee Duma, and our chair, Paul Magnon, attended a band concert at SMS School on Friday evening. Ward 4 Oakbank had a week-long band camp, and Diane or Paul might want to elaborate on with their comments, but it was just an amazing event. The smiles on the kids' faces was almost blinding. You could see how much enjoyment everybody was having. The concert quality of the playing of the instruments was just phenomenal, and it was just a pleasure to be there. Spoke to quite a few parents before and after, and it was just nice to see band being facilitated again.
Okay, anybody else? Diane?
I'd like to reiterate the attendance at the summer band camp at SMS on Friday. Just for information, the summer band camp is sponsored by the Manitoba Band Association. It ran from Monday to Friday from 8:30 to 3:30 every day. We had approximately 48 students attend, which is very large. There are 5 band camps that were run this summer. One of them was Oakbank, 4 were in the city. And also congratulations to Marissa Hurst, the band teacher, and Kevin Dell, who actually was a guest conductor at the concert, and for all of their hard work, and all the teachers that pulled this off and made it a great week. And congratulations to all the students who did a great job. Their final performance included sunglasses, and it was very spirited, and it was a wonderful ending to the show on Friday. So congratulations to that, and I hope that we haven't had that for 2 years, so this is nice to see it all coming back together, everybody publicly face to face. So it was great news. The second thing I'd like to just mention is a tribute to a person who passed away on July the 15th. Her name is Vera Chernicki, and she was the registered professional parliamentarian for the Manitoba School Boards Association, and she did pass away in July. She was known for her service and stewardship to the Manitoba School Boards at their AGMs, helping to run their meetings with parliamentary procedure. So I just wanted to acknowledge her service and the great contributions she's made, and that's Vera Chernicki. So just wanted to acknowledge her.
Anybody else? All right, if there's no one else. Yes, Paul?
So first of all, thank you, Don, for chairing while I'm away. I'm in Edmonton, but thanks for going ahead and doing that. I too was at the band camp, and it was great to go ahead and see. And Karen and Trustee Inslee and Trustee Duma, gave great recognition to the staff that were involved with us, and kudos to them. And it was great to see parents and kids playing music again. So it was really nice to see. Kathy, there were a couple of other of our teachers that Jennifer Sheed, I think, was one that was there. I think we had 4 of them there, and I think we've mentioned 2 or 3 of them. So if there's anyone else, certainly, Kathy, if you know those names, certainly share those. I also want to give kudos to our custodian staff. And whether it's at Parview School or at Edward Schreier or at SCI or any of our schools, I know some of them are pulling their hairs out because of the construction that we have going on in our schools, and they're working their tails off trying to get school ready for our students and staff as they're coming in. So kudos to the work that they've done, and I know that a number of work, we'll get a report from our superintendent about where we are with some of our schools because of the work that's getting done. But kudos to our custodians for the work that they've done over the summer and the work that they're continuing to do as our buildings are. Some of them are pretty dusty because of the construction that we're glad that is happening on our buildings. Not finished yet, but kudos to them.
Thanks. Is there anybody else? If not, then we'll go on to the next one, which is our minutes of June the 21st, 2002. There's no showcasing. We usually have one, but we're not doing that now, so we go to the minutes. Yes.
I just noticed, Mr. Chairman, that the agenda says there's a June 21st minutes meeting, which was our last meeting, but when you go inside, the minutes are actually dated June 7th. I neglected to see that when I first read them until I was driving here and thought to myself that I was away June the 7th, but didn't have a meeting since then. So I think we need to postpone this till our next meeting.
Okay. I didn't notice that. Okay, we'll put that on the next meeting, the minutes then. Okay, superintendent's report.
Yes, thank you, Don. I think schools are well on their way to being ready for this upcoming school year, and as we've been driving around to different schools, it's interesting because I think that our staff are almost as excited as the students to be back at it, because our parking lots are full of cars, and we've got people in the buildings, and teachers are getting classrooms ready for all of the kids who are coming to join. We have a one-day stagger to our start this year, so after the long weekend, Tuesday the 6th is the first day back for all staff, and it is an admin day. So students aren't in school until September 7th. Some of our K-8 schools are doing triad conferencing, so it is a chance for parents and their child to come in and meet the teacher and do that in a bit more relaxed environment in some triad conferencing. Some of our high schools also do a transition for grade 9 students. So our bigger high schools will have the grade 9 students come just by themselves on the first day, so that it's not quite so overwhelming with the whole high school population. SCI and ESS both do that, so those are two that will do that. All of our students should be in school by Thursday, September 8th, so we should see full classrooms and full schools, and we're pretty excited about having everybody back. We've had some really positive feedback on our school supply purchase, so we've had some parents and the media and some folks make some contact with us about our school supply purchase. There was an article in the Free Press today just about the rising cost of things and how nice it is not to have to go out and buy school supplies. The big piece that is on everybody's mind is what is the school year going to look like. So for the first time in 2+ years, we are going into the school year without any public health. Thanks, Don. We're going into the school year without any public health restrictions, but with public health recommendations. So the recommendations that are really important for schools to know and families to know and to follow is stay home when you're sick. And I think that's a good rule whenever. So if we're sick, let's keep our germs at home and come back when we're well. We always need to follow frequent and good hand hygiene, respect people's mask use choices, because one of the recommendations is that if someone should test positive, if they're going back out into public for those next 5 days after they've isolated, they should have a mask on. We also have rapid antigen tests that will continue to be available to families and to staff if they need them. There was another article in the newspaper today about how some of the grocery stores may be running in short supply with their rapid antigen test kits. So by all means, if there's families or students or staff out there who need some, please let us know and we can make sure that we get you connected with a test kit should that be something that you would like to get. All of our trustees here have a paper copy of our divisional report to the community, and it is all on our divisional website as well as all of our school websites. So that kind of gives us a little flashback at everything that we accomplished last year, and we are keen and excited to get right back at it next week. Everybody's been working really hard over the summer. Our secretary-treasurer will tell you all about the departments and the operational stuff and the hard work that they've been doing over the summer. Unless there's questions, that's my report.
Are there any questions? If not, thanks very much, Kathy. And then we'll go on to the second.
The question.
Okay.
So Kath, thanks for the information that you provided to us. And on the second part of the presentation, you've added some staffing changes as to what we are doing. I noticed that we have two divisional positions that we haven't filled yet as to and I guess I'm just wondering where we are. So one is our music program leader, and one is what are we doing with our Art Speak program?
Yeah, so the next two program reviews are talent development and arts education. So we're coming out the gate this fall with an evaluation of those programs so that we can look at meeting the needs once we finish those evaluations. So those are the next two on the block.
But Kat, we had okay, I hear you that we're going to have an evaluation. So does that mean that we're not going to have an Art Speak program or a program leader starting the school year?
Yeah, so our program leader is a .25 position and our Art Speak program is a .5 position. So they wouldn't be full-time starting in the beginning of the school year regardless. They have different hours. In the past, our .5 Art Speak person would work periods of a week at a time. So it's not something that starts until well into October. And for our music program leader, we're hoping to look at that and see where we get with the arts education overview to make some decisions.
Are there for the Secretary Treasurer's report? Oh, sorry. Draft reporting schedule.
Yeah, so one of the items that the board has done is they have a draft reporting schedule that we kind of keep ourselves on track with. So it looks a little like this. It's a bit busy, but it just outlines for the board exactly what it is that we are expecting to look at and when we look at our reports. So all of the reports that are upcoming for the entire year, when our presentations are, and as we said here, the next two program reviews are talent development and arts education, looking at music and drama and art. So just kind of that draft reports. It is a working document, so we kind of keep draft on here because if there is something that comes up during this school year, one of the things that was really important to this Board of Trustees was to be able to change this and have this reflect the work that they wanted to do. But it gives us a bit of a guidepost as to what do we expect to have coming to this table.
Are there any questions about the draft schedule? Yes.
No, not a question. I'm just going to go back to the comment about the program leaders, and that is a schedule too. But I guess if I look at our practice has been that when a position has been, when someone has left a position, it has automatically been filled, and we've seen that with the program leader position for the one that's stated here. It was just an automatic application that went out. It didn't even come through the board. It was an automatic. So I'm just wondering, was there at any time any notice given to the board that it's going to be something that would be changing regarding the Art Speak and regarding the music program, so that the board was given a heads up that somebody was looking at a change? Because according to the board and our budget, there was no change determined in any of the program leader positions.
Yeah, and that's an excellent point. I don't think there may be any changes because they're part-time positions. So one's a .25 and one's a .5. They may not, the way that they roll out might be a little bit different, but the .25 position may fall within the entire school year, and it may be more relevant at Christmas time or at spring concert time or at end of year concert time. So I think that's some of what we wanted to look at when we did the program review, was to say, what are schools saying that they need in terms of that support? How important might support be at the beginning of September or in January when there's exams and those kinds of things. So the only difference maker would be is because they're part-time, the way in which we do them could change a little. We haven't landed on anything yet, so when we do, we would come to the board and let the board know for sure. Same with the Art Speak, it's a .5, so the way in which that folds out or rolls out, we want to be able to take a look at.
Yes.
Just my feedback on that, that I see September as being an important start date for all positions, and I guess that's just why I'm a bit worried that we're on a lag here while it's being considered, and so I'm just I'm concerned about that, so I look forward to having that report as soon as possible.
Yes, Karen.
I was really going to reiterate what Trustee Duma just said, and the fact that now band has been resumed, and just seeing the intensity and the work that's going into the programming now, that they're back with band performances and programs, that I think it's important that the program leader for the bands especially, whether it's 0.25 or not, is filled sooner rather than later.
Is there any other discussion? If not, we'll go to the Secretary's Treasurer's report.
Thanks. I wanted to bring everybody up to speed on what the operational departments have been doing. I did like the presentation my predecessor had, and I kind of borrowed the template, but updated some of the information as a friendly reminder of what the operational departments are up to. So just to quickly run through it, I wanted to bring everybody up to speed. Maintenance has been very, very busy this summer. Of course, they oversee the 13 school sites, and SEC Empower Transportation Facilities. This summer, they have been extremely busy. I wanted to highlight some of the capital projects they have been doing. I also want to identify to everybody that over the summer there's been a number of large projects, and that I want to recognize all the dedicated hard work. We have amazing cleaning staff that are going behind the contractors and cleaning up the drywall dust and trying to make it a safe workplace for our staff as they return, our secretaries and principals and administration. So I want to recognize that. I also recognize the hard work being done by our contractors at both SCI and ESS, as well as our science labs. There's been a lot of construction. There's been a lot of challenges in the supply chain, as everybody's probably heard over the summer months. So I want to give kudos to the construction workers out there that are dedicating and working long hours. SCI, I was fortunate on Monday to go to the school where I met Trustee Inslee and Trustee Duma there. We went through everything and had a good look, being able to have discussions over the summer with some of those contractors. They've been putting in the hours, 14-hour week work days. They were even coming in on the weekends to try and make sure SCI has been up to speed. It's a huge project, and I'll kind of highlight it later on in my presentation. I also want to say it's definitely a long process for these projects. Again, the supply chain doesn't help, but the finished project or product is going to look amazing in our communities of Oakbank and Beausejour. So I'm going to highlight Edward Schreier's just to show you what the finished project is supposed to look like. The estimated total project is about $2.5 million. So just a reminder what it is. They're reconstructing the exterior building envelope. So as you can see, the bottom picture, all those windows are being replaced with beautiful large windows that are with the latest energy efficiency and larger for the students and the classroom experience. Right now, to date, the project completion is about 60%. The challenge at this point in time is trying to get those windows in. There is a supply chain issue, and the goal was to have the windows in this week. We've heard from the contractor they will be arriving next week. Fingers crossed they will. So at this point in time, there could be still plywood on the windows when the students arrive. However, there is options where our maintenance department is working with the contractors to try and not be an inconvenience to the classrooms. So that's maybe considering working on later in the evening after school to make sure that little interruption to the classroom. So at this time, we still have a couple of days to go. There's a long weekend thrown in there. So, but to highlight
the finished project, the school is going to look brand new. It'll look fantastic. So, yeah, that's the update with ESS. The next one is I wanted to show some work being done in our Whitemouth, Lactabani, and Powerview schools. They're all seeing new science classroom renewals, so there's a total of 3 schools being done at about just under $2.5 million. So to show you guys what's taken place, they've basically gone into the school, torn out all the cupboards, the drywall, really right down to the studs. You can even see that there'll be new studs installed, new ventilation system. So the pictures from clockwise, from the top is Whitemouth. As we go below, there's Lactabani Senior. There'll be a better storage area for the school. And then again, Powerview School, the last picture on the left, they'll have new ventilation installed. So it's going to look fantastic, but again, the completion date is pushed to December of this year. There have been, again, some changes and challenges. The contractors have been working with their suppliers, but there's a timing issue. Maintenance, again, I highlighted SCI. This project is one of the biggest ones going on this summer at about $6.6 million. Multiple things are taking place. The building envelope, there'll be a mechanical renewal, roof renewal, and to date, the project's about 65% complete. Some of the issues we're experiencing, again, windows are a delay in arrival. But they are working on the best situation when the students come back. I wanted to show everybody on the bottom right-hand corner is what a classroom is looking like about last week. So in some of those rooms we have ceiling tiles still to be installed because with the mechanical renewal we're seeing pipes going through and new bulkheads being constructed in the hallways in some classrooms. So once the mechanical pipes are going in, then they'll finish up with the ceiling. This week, most of those classrooms will be done, and then waiting for the windows to be installed. So it's come a long way over the summer months. I've been driving by both schools, and it's amazing the progress that's been taking place. And I give kudos to Kevin and Carol over at SCI. They've kept everybody in the loop over the summer months, informing the staff of the progress, and it's been fantastic, the level of communication going on there. The other projects taking place, we talked in the springtime about replacement of water faucets and fountains. Again, we're finding some of the items, even though we went to a supplier and they said, yes, we're all in stock, by the time we got around and ordered them and they were shipped, only about 30% of the supplies made it. So the idea is by the end of September we'll have all the faucets replaced where we need. So again, this was one funded by the province for the lead mitigation. And then that kind of wraps it up, the big projects. I have Derek slated for next week or next board meeting to give highlights of what other projects he's been up to. But I wanted to give everybody an update on those major capital projects. Other things going on in the ICT world, they've been very busy. They had 2 new techs hired this summer. Unfortunately, one decided to take on other endeavors and move on, but we are happy to have the rest of the team filling in at this time during school startup. So they're pretty busy. Let me just go to the next slide. Right now they're busy with the replacement of the library software going live this September. So there'll be some training and some information taking place, but everybody's excited to see the new library software. Startup has been challenging this year, but there has been the construction at SCI and ESS that give ICT a little bit of a challenge this summer, but they're pulling through. They've also had laptop renewals at Whitemouth and Powerview. And Lactabani Senior, they're being down 1 technician and learning in that area as well. And then as we go on, we're over the summer months, like I noted, Powerview, Lactabani Centennial School also had computer updates. And over the summer, there's been a lot of renewals and updates to our computers. So they've been really, really busy trying to cover everything and making sure school startups as smooth as possible. Transportation, again, they've been busy. Currently, they have 90 routes. And I wanted to highlight to the board right now, there is, over the past couple of years, there has been the COVID challenges and extra cleaning efforts and restrictions on capacity of the buses. 22-23 is going to be the first. We will see a normal return to school as no COVID processes are in place at this time. So again, as Kathy mentioned, if you're not feeling good, stay home when you're sick, be mindful of that. But everybody is pretty excited to come back to a pretty normal school year. So they're busy with, over the summer months, they were doing the oil changes and regular inspections of the buses. They were also busy trying to ensure that we are supplying or have a sufficient sub-spare list for our bus drivers. So there was driver training courses taking over the summer. And the transportation department has been working on the Ford propane buses. So we expect them to arrive in October. We're working on the site to make sure that the propane tank has been installed. And over the summer, they've also been busy with improvements to student health care plans, material safety data, and month-end paperwork and internal efficiencies they're trying to find. And the rest of the department, operational department, to wrap it up, our finance department, they've been busy with year-end and all the year-end wrap-up, working on the auditor paperwork. So they've been really, really busy. We also have to note that our purchasing department was really busy at the late end of spring with the school supplies. So I have to note that at the end of June, purchasing department followed up with any one-off. So all the schools went out and purchased what they needed based on, we had secured pricing, and then there's the odd, unique item that maybe the school wanted. Sometimes those we found that one-offs took time arriving, but thankfully our purchasing department was able to follow up with it to ensure that all the goods were arrived in June. So it's a big task, but everybody worked well as a team, so our students can arrive with supplies. So that's fantastic. And that's kind of a wrap-up of what the departments have been busy at.
Are there any questions for the Secretary Treasurer?
Don, I have one.
Okay, Paul.
Jody, thanks very much. Thanks for letting us know that Derek is coming next board meeting to give us an update. But I think that we're probably going to need to have this on a regular item over the next little while to keep the board informed about some of our projects, particularly in our larger schools. So please keep that in mind as we move forward.
Okay, Russ.
Yeah, I'm not looking for specifics or anything. I'm just curious. I noticed it says that we have a number of bus drivers on medical leave. Are these age-related, or are they like serious? Because you know they've had 60 days over the summer to get better. That's what I'm wondering, and I guess that's it.
At this time, a lot of it for medical leave, I don't have the personnel information. But yeah, I do know the transportation department, when they are aware somebody is on medical leave, they have to pull from their sub list to make sure that that route isn't canceled. So that's their priority at this time.
No other questions? Diane?
I just think it's important to recognize that I don't think we've ever had so many projects going on in Sunrise in 1 year as we are having right now. It's over $15 million in funding for these projects, huge, huge projects. The SCI one, we've been waiting a long time for that. That's been on our capital list request for many, many years, so it's nice to see that one happening. But I think it's good to recognize that the maintenance department is really, really busy with all of these things going on, and I think I'd just like to recognize that, and kudos to all the hard work. Having been at SCI, I saw so many wires dangling from the ceiling. I don't know, it was just quite amazing. The whole roof was, ceilings were opened up. We arrived on Monday and it was actually pouring rain, and we could see the leaks in the roof that is eventually going to be repaired. There was lots of buckets, but the staff, the administration staff for the office and the principal and the vice principal were all working out of the library at SCI. Everything had been moved in there, their desks and everything, because their own areas are under construction. So it's quite different. There's a lot of noise, it's a lot of accommodation, it's a lot of flexibility. So I'm sure the same thing's going on in Edward Schreier and the other schools. So just recognize that there's a lot of stuff going on. And if trustees have a chance to pop in, I think it would be well worth your while to pop in and see. It's quite exciting. Thanks.
Any other questions? All right, we'll then go to Board Business Schools Funds Report.
I have attached the report to the board agenda. So there's the report as well as all the schools. I'm just trying to pull up my summary here. Historically in the past, I'm not sure what the Secretary-Treasurer reviewed with the board, but I can say that I have had discussions with the various administrators of the school over the May and June months especially. But when the report started to come in, as you can see, there's been some funds, general funds with large amounts of surplus versus some not so much. I just wanted to highlight some of the comments on the reports. Generally, if you did see a terminology called ongoing, often that is something that is definitely ongoing. Things like student councils or annual events, there's a function that, like a grad, there'll be fundraising going towards it, and then by June, they completely use a majority of the funds. There are sometimes a little portion left, and the school the following year is going to use that remaining portion to put deposits on the rental facilities or caterers and things like that. So there are some that we recognized in these reports that are definitely going to be ongoing. There are sometimes annual field trips that we're going to start seeing. Other things that we could see is milk program or hot lunch. What the intention from some of these schools are, they plan to raise the funds to a point where they can purchase a fridge or a replacement fridge for their milk, like a milk fridge. So that's their intention for some of their funds. Now, there's been conversations, if a fridge is about $1,000, depending on the size or commercial capacity, then why would you need more than that in your fund? So there have been conversations. What I want to say too is I don't think at this time there's been as much oversight annually that's taken place. I do think this procedure is going to assist schools with being mindful and aware of their balances in the accounts. Definitely it was surprising. There were some funds with negative balances, and I felt that this kind of addressed some of them. There were definitely some that had negative balances for a while. So it was nice to see that they recognized it and they wanted to clear it off. Funds definitely with larger balances. I still want to have those conversations with the administration to ensure that they're not to say they're hoarding funds, but to utilize the funds on the students that helped raise it. So not that a student was there for 10 years ago and the funds are still sitting there, to utilize it during that period that the student was attending the school. I also noted when there was a change in administration, the intention sometimes of the school funds may become unclear or unknown. There were some conversations that I had was some administrators took over the school and they weren't sure what the intention was for, say, the $20 that sat in the music program fund. So they wanted to keep it just in case. However, they weren't sure what to spend it on. So that conversation was, if you're not sure and there hasn't been any defined purpose, maybe there's no need or necessity for that, to just go and spend the funds and close the fund account. And then we can utilize student activity if something came up. So there was conversation how best to utilize it. The attachments, I should note that I just didn't receive a NOLA's school fund report in time for the board meeting. I'll be following up with that school, but I'm just wondering if anybody has questions on the report.
Are there any questions? Yes.
So Jody,
Oh, sorry, I just see that there's a recommendation for a motion to receive the reports. Do we do that, or?
I think it's a good idea that
Just a minute, Paul.
So this is the first year that we've had this report because the policy committee worked on developing this and saying that it was going to be an annual report coming to the board table. So it is our first time navigating through what you would like to do with this information. Whether it's receive the reports, and if that's a good idea, great. If it's just that you want this as a regular part of that draft reporting. But we have not done this because it's a new policy or new procedure that we put in place.
Okay, Paul, we'll let you talk.
Sorry, Don, thanks. Jody, we've talked about this before, about this. School funds are supposed to be a fund. A lot of money in those funds. And thanks for making sure the funds there's a plan for them. But we still shouldn't be carrying. So you've talked about going ahead and doing that. It's for our administrators. The idea is that basically the funds should be in and out. Use the money on the kids that have raised them before. Thanks, Jody.
Yes, Diane.
So I guess, like, I'm fine with having a motion. I think that's not a bad idea, but I just wanted to make sure we know what the school funds report is. So it's the report that's in front of us from the Secretary Treasurer, right? This is the report dated August the 30th for the 2021-22 school funds. And then in addition to that, there is the report of the spending, updated as of current. So there's actually two documents. So I just wanted to make sure that if we do make a motion, that it be resolved that the board receive the year-end 2021-22 school report as of August the 30th as information. I'd just like it to have more detail in the motion. Otherwise, I think I'm fine with it. Thank you.
Is there any other questions? Well, I have a question. I was on the policy committee, but after I looked at the report, I'm not happy with the format, so I will try to change that format on the policy committee again. It just doesn't give me quite enough information. One of the things I would like to have seen is a column. It says the amount what was remaining, but I would like to see in a column that said how much did they start the year with. So I'm just saying, I think we talked about this on the policy committee, and I thought everything was okay, but then when I looked at it, and I thought that there was a little bit more information. I would have liked to have seen an extra column, that's all. Other than that, I think it's a very good report.
Let's make a motion to accept it and use the right terminology.
Paul moved it, and,
Need to read the motion.
okay, I'll read the motion first of all, then let's see if I get down to that. Okay, be resolved, the board receives the year-end school funds report as information. Paul moved it, and Diane seconded. Did you want to change something, Diane?
I like what Diane talked about.
Yeah, if we could just put in there, receive the year-end, the 2021-22 year-end school funds report. And what's the other document from Jody? With as of August the 30th. As of August the 30th, 2022.
I'm not quite sure whether that's correct, because this is for end of June, and I don't think you can say by the end of August, because the school funds will change between June and August.
But see, we made this motion in June. We made a motion to carry over $70,000 in school funds with a request in that motion in June to have an update on it. So this is the update now as of now, unless there's something that happened between June and August that we don't know about.
We didn't make a motion for school funds.
Yes, we did.
No, I'm sorry we didn't.
Missed the wrong thing.
There's a difference between school funds. This is school funds that the principal has charge of. The motion we made was what we have in charge of. So that that motion wasn't made with these school funds in June. Yeah, I know we call them school funds, but there's two different school funds.
So we made a motion to carry over $70,000. That's not what this is about.
No.
Okay.
So, can we reread the motion that we are contemplating?
So we have, be it resolved that the board receive the year-end school funds summary report as information presented at the August 30th, 2022 board meeting.
That's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, be it resolved that the board receive the insert title of report, 21-22 title, school funds reports as information presented at the August 30th, 2022 board meeting. Yes?
Could we get that reread?
I don't have it in front of me, for sure. Here's what we think it is. Be it resolved that the board receive the 2021-22 school funds summary report as information presented at the August 30th, 2022 board meeting.
That's what you, sorry. Is that what you moved, Paul?
Yeah, that's where it's done.
Okay, and and Diane seconds it. Okay, if there's no discussion, we'll vote on it. It was passed with everybody in favor. We will now go to 8.2. And the motion says, be resolved the board approves in principle the Ecole Parview School field trip, grade 9 outdoor education students to Mascroft project September 15th to the 16th, 2022, subject to superintendent's final approval. Do we have a second?
I'll motion it.
Okay, so we do have a mover, that's Paul. We have a seconder? And Diane? Is there any discussion? No No discussion, then we'll vote on it. It was passed, all in favor. We'll go to the next one, 8.3, which is, there's no motion, so I gotta see what the motion says. Huh? Huh? Okay. Do we need a motion for this? Yes.
So two principals from SCI and SMS received a letter from the Sunrise Coyotes, and the Sunrise Coyotes is a community-run football organization. It has nothing to do with Sunrise School Division. And then the SCI Sabres are a school football team. And the letter in front of you asks to get permission to run a homecoming football day, and the problem that I think we have is complete with beer gardens. So a school division cannot have alcohol at a function. So I don't think there is a motion for this, but I wanted to share the letter with folks and say we're very excited about a homecoming football game and would like to support the Sunrise Coyotes Community Club, but I don't think there's a motion because you will not be able to.
Well, yes, I think that if we're not having a motion, there was a letter that we should respond to it, and given the reason why we are not giving permission. Yeah, so is that what you want? Yeah.
I think it has to do with more information that maybe you could provide to the board, because we have historically made a motion, especially for the 4-H and Powerview. So just if you could explain what the difference is and what new information you might have as to why we can't approve something like this. Thank you.
So I have that information, and if it's a community event being held on as a community use of school, then we can do a permit. So if I use the Powerview grad as they have the dinner and dance because there's nowhere else for them to have a function, the parent committee or the safe grad applies for a community use of school, or the 4-H might use a community use of school. The Sunrise Coyotes in the past would have applied to use our grounds, but we've had nothing to do with it because there was no school football team. So as a community use of school, someone could say, we'd like to use your property or your place for this event, but because we have a school football team wanting to participate, we can't have alcohol at a function that has a school, we'd be selling, beer gardens at a basketball game. We can't do that for a school team. Is the difference, I think, from the past.
Can I get clarification? Is this for our school team or the community team?
From the letter, it's a blend. So when I read the letter, it says, writing to ask permission to run the event again. The Sunrise Coyotes have 3 home games, and the SCI Sabres also have a home game. I'm not quite sure who needs to give permission, but my understanding from the letter is that this is a school football team and the community football teams looking to do a joint event. As it says on the bottom, Friends of SCI Sabres and Sunrise Coyotes Director.
So I guess my position would be is football is probably a real expensive, well, it is a really expensive sport for our high school to do. So if this is a way our high school is raising money and it's a community event, I don't have a problem with it. If it's a community club team wanting to run something on our property, then I think that that's different.
So again, as a public school, like we can't have wine raffles, we can't do liquor sales, like we can't do those kinds of things as public schools, is my understanding.
Well, we do have, we have had in the past liquor events on our schools because of doing something with our school, for our school. I guess I just want more clarification. Is this because our SCI football team is looking to raise money? Or is it because the community, SCI, the Sunrise Coyotes, the team out of Oak Bank, is looking to raise money? I'd like to get clarification on that.
So again, if the board wants me to get in touch with Shandy and get that clarification, my understanding would be that this is a joint event from this letter, but I can get clarity. If it is a school event, I don't think that we are allowed to, as a public school, have alcohol associated with a school event. These are underage children, and I don't think we can. If we have in the past, I don't know of any opportunity, I know that the Powerview grad has asked for special permission to host in the school, but that is not a school event, it's a parent council or a safe grad event.
Okay, I'm hearing that we need more information. Can you bring that back to us at the next board meeting then?
Please.
Yes, Russ.
I guess that I'm probably redundant now after what Kathy said, but because I'm all in favor of sports and everything and raising money, but I kind of don't think we should be involved with alcohol, or I don't even like being too near to it in a school setting. I think in the past, could be wrong on that, but I think some of the breweries offered to put up score clocks and stuff, didn't they? And we just turned them down right away. So that's my thinking.
I think we've already asked, unless somebody else wants something different, we're going to ask Kat to come back for the next board meeting with clarification, find out whether it's a community thing or whether it's involving the school, and then we can make a decision at that time. All right, we'll then go on to the landmark planning report. Now, this is just a report. There's no, do we want to discuss it now? Did everybody have the time to really look at it and read it in detail? Because it's 60-some pages. So do we want to talk about it now, or do we want to wait for another meeting? Because the recommendations, there are some good recommendations, and I'm not quite sure whether even an hour is enough time to give looking at all the recommendations. So I'm recommending that we just table this until we can make a special meeting for this planning report. If there's no objection, I'll go on the next one. 8.5, which is strategic plan development. I don't know what's about yet.
Yes, so I was just giving an update. The board met on June 2nd to begin the work of revising and updating their strategic plan. So the stage that they're at is finalizing the domains or areas that they want to identify as priority. And then once we have those priority areas, I and my team can look at the action strategies, indicators, and timeline for getting our strategic plan operationalized. And then we can incorporate some of those regular reports into the board meeting schedule. So it was just an update and a reminder about getting our revisions done.
Okay, thanks, Kat.
Don, can I speak?
Yes?
So, Kathy's totally right here in the fact is that as a board, you kind of give her some direction around where our priorities are for then her to build a plan. We've got 4 more meetings as a board, and what we should do is we should be looking at this current, not asking for a new board to come in and spend a year doing something, where we should give them some direction so Kathy can build some stuff. So there's some work that Kathy and I need to go ahead and do to come back to the board about it, but it is, the clock's ticking on us for us to go ahead and do that. So thanks, Kath, for reminding us about it.
Yes. Either we can discuss it at a board meeting, or we would have to have another special meeting to talk about the strategic plan, which Again, I think at a board meeting is not enough time, so I'm suggesting that we probably have another meeting before October the 26th. Okay, we'll go on to 8.6, scholarship and capital checks. Jody, you will talk about that.
Yeah, I have made a recommendation to the board tonight to move all our signing. Don, your mic's on. Thanks. I just don't want feedback. Yeah, so I made a recommendation to move all our checks to electronic signatures. When I say all our checks, all except our U.S. checks. We have a U.S. check fund or a U.S. Checking account. So that will still be the wet ink signature. But initially everything was a trial period with running operating checks via electronic signature, and we just want to, we found that there is efficiencies and it's pretty effective in time-sensitive issuing of payments. So we'd like to move forward and make our scholarship and donation fund as well as the capital fund electronic signatures. I'm making a recommendation to have a motion tonight as it supports our audit documentation as to the change in nature of the process.
Are there any questions? I'm just going to give you one clarification since I got the clarification this afternoon is that the electronic checks that are being electronically signed right now is only signed by the chair, is that correct? So it's not the other ones, which means that he doesn't sign the checks until whoever is the approving, like this month I was looking at approving the check registered, so I would approve the check registered, plus approve all the checks, and then he would, then the electronic signature would be put on there. So there still is an oversight, so the staff just doesn't electronically put the signature on without the approval. In fact, from what I understand, the computer won't allow the electronic signature to be put on there unless there is approval from whoever's supposed to be approving it that month, whether it's myself or Jared or Paul. I just want to give you a little bit more information because I need that information. Of course, yeah.
So you made mention that the auditor recommended it, and number two, do we have a policy in regards to the use of electronic signatures, and is that useful?
No, I think in the past it'll support any audit documentation, and no, we don't have a policy on electronic signatures at this time. It was a good conversation I did have with our finance manager and intermediate accountant to think of what kind of format or internal processes do we have to have, and a conversation about a procedure. Internal procedure would be identifying when an electronic signature could be used, but at this point in time we're only using it on checks.
So I would see that a procedure would be in place, especially when it involves the trustee signatures who may change depending on what positions they have. So, you know, like you wouldn't have the authority to sign until you had the position, the three people that can sign. So that could be part of a procedure or policy just to make sure that you have the authority to sign and that it's, you're making sure that you've got a second signature or whatever with it for oversight. I just think this should be talked about with the auditor also.
All right, so we've got a motion on the floor. So do we want to, we haven't got a move or a second yet, even though we talked about it, but because you just got the information. So it does say, be resolved, the board approves to use electronic signature on both capital and scholarship fund checks. Electronic signature is already being used on the operating, is that right? It's being used for a number of, for at least a year or so. So all they're asking is to use the same electronic signature for both capital and scholarship funds, which is very, there's very few checks in a month, so it's not, the operating checks is a lot more. So do we want to do that?
Can I comment?
Wait just a minute, but do we want to do it now, or do we want to get a procedure before we allow the capital and the scholarship fund? Paul?
I don't see really anything different, Trustee Duma, of what we're doing. It's not that one of us isn't going to go ahead and sign a check. We're just going to sign it electronically, but we're still going to have all the information in front of us. So I don't think that it's necessarily anything that's going to be different about approving. It's just approving it electronically. Correct, Jody?
Yeah, that's correct. There's nothing, there's still oversight, there's still internal controls. A check's not issued until it's been approved by the designated authorized person for that month. So there is oversight. It can't just be used without approval. The software doesn't allow that. The way it's internalized in the safety features, you cannot move on. We can't generate a check until the check register has been okayed and reviewed by the designated authorized person.
So Don, I don't see any issue to it, and I would make the motion.
Paul makes a motion to moves this resolution. Do we have a seconder? Art seconds it. So if there's no further discussion, I'll call the vote. It's passed with all in favor. We go to the next one, 8.7, trustee expenses older than 3 months. And do you want to discuss that, Jody?
Yeah, thank you. I have brought to the attention of the board, I'm looking for more so clarification. So I've prepared a report with some attached documentation, but I just wanted to identify, I'm really writing this report or a written request for clarification from the Board of Trustees on how to address expense claims for specifically trustees that arrive much later in a fiscal year or in a following fiscal year. There's no past expense claims in this nature to refer to, so it makes my setting a precedent and moving this going forward a bit of a challenge. I'm looking for guidance or navigating on this sensitive topic. It would be greatly appreciated to hear the feedback from the board, as I can see the optics that this could create perspectives or negative perspectives of the trustees. So at this time, I wanted to bring the attention, there was one trustee expense claim that was submitted requesting the approval of the Secretary Treasurer. The expense claim covers the period of October 2020 to June 2022. The total amount equals $2,175. I wanted to identify, I haven't approved or denied the claim at this time, as a decision does need to be made, but I wanted to be in accordance with the past bylaws passed in 2019, and most recently this past spring, bylaw 375-22. So I was hoping that the board to bring to their attention the section that talks about reasonable interpretation, section 18 of the bylaw. So reasonable expenses acquired but not covered under this bylaw will be submitted to the Secretary Treasurer for approval. So when I apply the term reasonable, I'm also taking into consideration the understanding of the divisional procedures that we have for all staff. Right now, the fiscal interpretation of the bylaw is trying not to contradict what is applied to all staff. So currently, all staff within the 3-month period, they must submit their expenses, and within the current fiscal period. So staff have received messages over the years to submit expenses the first week of the following month. As a reminder, there's been discussions with administration to keep on task with this. Schools and other departments can see accurate financial information because of timely submissions of expenses. The reason why this was created historically in the past at schools were to avoid staff holding off on expenses and then submitting in June. It's hard for an administrator to know where they're at the end of the year if they have a money outstanding as a outstanding budget balance, but all of a sudden there is $3,000 of expense claims that arrive. So it's hard for the administration to submit carryover requests if there's an unknown expense coming their way. So to make it a timely manner, a requirement to submit within a reasonable time, 3 months, was made into effect several years ago. So when a claim is received at a much later date, the finance department will have to verify the expenses and to confirm that they have not been paid. This we did find historically is very ineffective use of staff time, but understanding that it is the understanding of the Secretary Treasurer that the Finance Committee did and was in favor of the existing practices of only authorizing the past 3 months, and understood the request was much needed for the internal procedures. So at this time, like I said, the claim hasn't been denied or approved, but I'm looking at the opinion of approving the period of July 1st, 21 through June 30th, 22, recognizing that we are still working on the current fiscal period for year end, so we can at least pay those with the understanding that there is no, this individual didn't recognize that they could make the claim of these expenses. And I'll leave it up to the board for thoughts.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
This claim here is one of the things that we talk about, is that because this was dealing with the COVID, I think the trustee didn't realize that you can't go back in history, because we never had board meetings with the department every 2 weeks, and that did fall within the Appendix A that says if you met with the Department of Education, you could get a claim, and I'm just thinking that my way of saying is that we probably should pay this expenses. But the other thing, on our expense problem, there is nothing on the expense problem that says that we have to have it within 3 months. So I think that I know the staff does, but we don't. So I think that we should be putting that on our expense problem, that we should, going forward, that we should have it that says that you should try to get your claims in within the 3 month period. Are there any other questions about this? Do we need a motion, or can you?
I have a comment, John.
Okay.
I would just like to state that this was brought forward by the Finance Committee and not by the chair of the board. It was something that was identified in our Finance Committee meetings and was, brought forward based on our discussion, and it wasn't our chair who pushed for this.
So my question is, again, Joe, do we need a motion, or can you just go ahead and pay it because it is a claim? Okay.
The way I look at this, in my interpretation, Mr. Chairman, is the term reasonable time frame. The reasonable time frame for all our vast majority of Sunrise employees is 3 months in the current fiscal year. So I think that's a reasonable time frame. That's my opinion, Mr. Chairman. And to my knowledge, that's what most people in any sort of job, they don't hang on to their expense accounts for numerous years.
So my question is, do we need a motion? You're recommending that we pay it, so do we need a motion? Okay, so then we'll make a motion, and the motion should read something like this, I think, that we give authority to the Secretary Treasurer to pay the claim of the trustee that was longer than 3 months or older than 3 months.
Be it resolved that the board
Authorizes, yeah, Secretary Treasurer.
Treasurer to pay the, I think you want the dates in there, to pay the
Yes.
expense claim covering the period of October 2020 trustee expense claim to June 2027.
Yes.
So in just speaking with Trustee Nicol, I think the wording that he's presenting is, be it resolved that the board authorize the Secretary Treasurer to pay the trustee expense claim covering the period of October 2020 to June 2022.
I'm not quite sure whether it should be 2020, shouldn't it be 2021? It goes back to 2020? Okay, sorry. Yeah, I made a mistake there. That's on the motion. Do we have a mover for that motion? Okay, let's have a motion first and then we'll comment afterwards, okay? If there's no mover and no seconder, then no comment. So do we have a mover and a seconder?
I'll move it.
Okay, Diane moves it. We have a seconder. Okay, if you want to change the motion, what would you like to change it to?
I would like to modify the motion slightly and change the starting date so it's only the last fiscal year, not a 2-year period, just because of accounting.
So then, Robin, you're making a motion that says, be it resolved that the board authorize the Secretary Treasurer to pay the trustee expense claim. From the period of July 1st, 2021 to June 2022, covering the period.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Trustee Nicol, can I speak?
Robin, you made that motion?
That would be my motion, yes.
Okay, do we have a second to that motion? Then we can discuss it. Diane, do you want to second that motion?
Sure.
Okay. Sorry. Paul, do you want to talk?
Yeah, I'll withdraw my request.
I didn't hear you, Paul.
I'll withdraw my request.
Okay. You withdrawing your request?
Yeah.
We got the motion and we got a second, so we got a motion on the floor, and I think that we have to vote on it according to Robert's rules. All right, so if there's no other, is there any discussion before we vote on the motion? Okay, Karen.
Well, what is Paul rescinding? I don't. Can you explain, Paul? I'm not sure what you said that you've changed your mind on.
So to be clear, the motion was because I attended 32 meetings because of COVID, and again, the board doesn't want to cover all the cover that expense, which would have been in an indemnity bylaw, that's fine. You know what? As a board chair, that I do a job on behalf of the board, yeah. It doesn't seem like the people that want to go ahead and cover that cost, that's fine. So that's where I would stand, is that it wasn't that I didn't have 3 years of expense claims in on time. There was this one meeting, we talked about it, and as a board, as a chair, did I ever go ahead and claim the cost of those meetings? No. However, if that's the appetite, because it sounds like that's the appetite, I would withdraw my request. You have a motion on the floor. Go ahead, do what you need to do.
I believe according to Robert's Rules of Order, we got a motion on the floor, so we have to vote on that motion. According to unless I'm reading Robert's Rules of Order differently. All right, Diane?
So just to clarify this, this is a claim that has gone in, it's late, but the reason it's come in late is because the person putting this claim in didn't realize that they could claim for these. That's what this is about.
That's what it's about, yeah.
So it's late, but the person didn't realize they could claim for these meetings, and that's why it's coming in late. They decided to go back and say, these are the meetings I've attended, I'd now like to put my claim in. So it's a bit different. I think we understand that they have to be coming in on time, but the person didn't claim for them before. So these meetings, are they also claimed for by the vice chair?
I don't believe the vice chair attended those meetings. It was only chair meetings.
So are these meetings that are agenda planning meetings?
No, these are meetings that Paul attended with the province of Manitoba. Because remember, every 2 weeks, the superintendent and the chair met with the province of Manitoba. Huh? Oh, sorry, just the chair. Met with the province of Manitoba, so it's these meetings. And according to our bylaw, it says that if the chair or anybody meets with a Department of Education, they can claim for the meetings.
So that helps me understand the reason for the claim. What I don't find is that the claim isn't written well, because I think it should say what those meetings are about. It should say meeting with the government, meeting with the Department of Ed, like it should include what it is, because I don't even know what these board chair meetings are, so it would be nice to include that in the claim. Now that I have that understanding of why the claim has come forward, I now get it, so that helps. So I guess the difference is, just in terms of accounting, that the question on the floor is that just to have it within this fiscal year is the question. So, which would put it out by how much if we don't include the 2020 year.
Yeah, I've calculated it's about $825 for the current fiscal period, so it's about $1,300 outside. Yeah.
Yes, Robert.
So just to be clear, I don't have a problem with the claim being done, because he did attend these meetings. I don't think we should be setting a precedent, though, with the argument that I didn't know it was claimable, because any of our staff could make that argument, even though it's written down somewhere. That's why I think we should pay out a portion of the claim, but I think we should limit it to the last 12 months. That's my reason.
Are there any other discussion before we vote? Okay. Can we vote then? Electronically? Okay.
Can you read out the motion?
Do you want me to read the motion again?
Yeah, sorry, 3 questions. I did. Okay.
Okay. It was passed with 6 in favor, and you can see the other results. All right, we'll go on to 8.8, Policy Committee update. Robin?
So our current The current board's policy committee has 2 more meetings scheduled, one in September, one in October. Based on the meeting tonight, we already have 2 new items to add to that. We will look at a review of our scholarship and capital checks electronic. We'll look at that procedure, and we will look at tightening up our 3-month notation for trustees as well as other regular stuff. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Robin. Then we got the Finance Committee update, and that's myself. So that we're going to have 2 meetings, September the 22nd, one October the 18th, and we might have another one after that. October the 18th one is a meeting that we'll meet with the auditor, I believe, and so we might have one after October 18th, between the 18th and the 25th. We will talk about that on the 22nd, let you know whether we're going to have another one after the 18th. 8:10, no check register. 8:11 is Education Foundation Committee. There's no information on that. Professional development, I don't think there's any reports on those. So we go to correspondence, and that's just for information. Nice to know is the upcoming meetings. 13 is just a press releases that's on there that you can read. Then we got questions from the public. Yes.
There's no update on the Education Foundation Committee? There's no update to the lawyers yet?
No, I actually heard back from the lawyer. I have a meeting or a phone call scheduled with them on Friday to go over the court documentation. That'll be, they've drafted it just to finalize it before they submit. They've been away over the summer months, but they've been working on it.
Second question, have we received anything from the auditors regarding the audit? Usually we get a letter from them in July or August to the board telling us what their parameters are, and they usually direct it right to the chair. We received nothing so far. Did you follow up to find out if there is a letter coming from them to the chair?
We're going to 14 then, questions from the public. Do we have any questions, Jody?
No, I have no questions from the public.
Okay, we're going to move into the camera. We have to finish our in-camera meeting, and then we'll move out of camera, and we've got at least 2 motions to move after that. One is for the White Mouse Daycare and one for the Dougal Daycare. I think that's the only ones we've got, except the ones that there's a couple of things that we have to discuss in camera that we might have motions for. So we'll take a 5-minute break. We'll be back here at 15 to 9. All right, we're back in regular meeting, and we've got 3 motions from in camera. I'll read the first one. It says, be resolved, the board approve the use of one designated classroom for the inclusion of an independent-run preschool program within White Mouse School pending compliance of all required lease conditions. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Okay, Diane moves. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second.
Okay, Paul seconds it. If there's no discussion, we'll vote. And 17.1, yes.
Come on.
All right, it is carried with everybody in agreement. We'll go on to 17.2. Just give me a minute. And the motion reads, be resolved the board approve up to $25,000 from accumulated surplus to fund the construction of the expansion of the Dugo daycare parking lot located at 795 Jeffrey Street. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Diane moves it and Karen seconds it. If there's no discussion, we'll vote. All right, it was carried with everybody in favor. Our next motion. It be resolved the board sent the Sunrise Funding Review Committee feedback to the provincial team for inclusion in the recommendation as per discussion on on August 30th, 2022. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Diane moves it, and Karen seconds it. If there's no discussion, yes.
So could we just make sure we put in Sunrise School Division funding or Sunrise Trustees, whatever, that the board send the Sunrise, it's not Sunrise, it's Sunrise School Division.
Okay, yes, okay, we'll include Sunrise School Division. That will be part of the motion then. All right, it was passed, all in favor. I'm just going to go back. We had no more questions from the public, did we? Jody, okay. So I will then, yes, Diane.
Can we confirm that our meetings will now be open to the public to attend? A question, just if we could confirm that or not?
Yes, I believe that all public places are now open to public unless there is some motion by the board. Our building is open during board meetings.
Okay, Karen.
I know that I sometimes forget, but there's a local Oakbank group, Springfield group, that I always post in to let them know that there's meetings coming up. And I post the link, and I always update them that you can come in public now. So I don't know if any of you guys have any access to any, local, like Facebook groups or social media groups that, like, you might want to do the same thing, because a lot of people obviously look at stuff like that as opposed to looking at the school division website.
Okay, so I don't think that we have to do anything, because I think that was in the press release that I thought that was in the press release. I read it somewhere that the school board meeting is going to be open to the public, subject to health orders, which meant that if somebody came in here and you see them sneezing and coughing, you would ask them to leave. Yeah. Or if we knew that they were tested positive for COVID yesterday, we would ask them to leave. Yeah. Okay, so there's no other ones. I will adjourn the meeting then. Huh?
Thanks, Don.
In case you didn't hear, I joined the meeting. I'll say it the second time in case I wasn't loud enough the first time.
Thank you. Good night.